When foster siblings reunite, a billionaire doctor's devastating secret at midnight. The clock struck 12, sending an echo through the cold, shadowy mansion. At that moment, everything changed. The two foster siblings, once inseparable, now stood face to face in a dimly lit room that held the darkness of their past. Their eyes flickered with memories, the laughter, the fights, the unspoken secrets. It was a reunion that felt electric, charged with a tension that could shatter glass. Just then, a single gust of wind whipped through the open window, carrying with it a chilling whisper. Some called it a draft, others insisted it was a warning. No one dared to explain the shadows dancing in the corners of the room, flickering, bending, almost alive. And yet, there they were, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for the truth to break free. What secret lay buried beneath the surface? A billionaire and a doctor, both high achievers in their very different worlds, united by a bond forged in hardship, but now torn apart by ruthless ambition and past betrayals. As she stared into his piercing gaze, an unmistakable tension filled the air, an urgency flickering between them like a candle on the verge of extinguishing. It was a moment pregnant with unspoken words. I in the corner, a framed photograph caught the moonlight, two smiling kids, carefree, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing ahead. They had shared a life, a promise. But now, it felt as if that promise lay shattered like broken glass on the floor. Dust shifted underfoot, caught in the eerie spotlight of the moon, an unsettling reminder of what time had done to them. Had they both changed too much to reconcile the past? Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The atmosphere thickened as they leaned closer, the pulse of the moment echoing in their ears. Both their breaths quickened, and an unshakable feeling crept in. Were they on the brink of uncovering something so devastating it would change everything? Fear gripped at their hearts, yet they were drawn together, unable to turn away from the dark mystery surrounding their reunion. What was it they both feared to reveal? As they stood there, vulnerability intertwined with curiosity, the world outside faded away. All that mattered now was the family they once were and the weight of the truth pressing down on them. But in that charged silence, the door creaked open, the shadows stirred, and a voice echoed from the depths of the house, a voice belonging to a figure shrouded in darkness, one that could unravel everything. What revelation lay ahead? A figure appeared, cloaked in shadows, and the moment hung like a fragile thread ready to snap. The siblings instinctively recoiled, their bodies taut with fear. The voice that filled the room was low and gravelly, each word slicing through the suffocating silence like a knife. "You're too late," it said, echoing like a sinister whisper off the walls. As their eyes adjusted, they saw a glimpse of the intruder's face, the cold glint of recognition sending a chill through their spines. It was Daniel, the man who had once stood as a protector, but now, he bore the mark of betrayal. A flicker of desperation crossed his features, but it quickly morphed into a hard mask of determination. "What do you want?" she gasped, instinctively stepping closer to her brother, seeking strength in the bond they had shared so long ago. "I want the truth to come out," Daniel replied, each word laced with anger. "You think you can just sweep everything under the rug? You can't hide from it forever." The air crackled with tension, and the atmosphere became unbearably thick. She felt a lump form in her throat. How could this be happening? How could they have come so far, only to be torn apart by secrets once again? "Daniel," her brother said, his voice steady yet strained, "you don't understand what you're stirring up. Some things are better left buried." "Is that what you believe?" Daniel challenged, stepping further into the room, his presence forcing them to confront the past they had tried so hard to escape. "You're both living a lie. Don't you want to know why?" What he said hung in the air, an unspoken possibility, a reality they had both feared. The siblings exchanged a glance, their shared history racing back the orphanages, the abusive foster homes, the lies told to them. Had they really known all this time? Enough! She yelled, feeling a surge of emboldened anger. What more could there possibly be? We faced hell, and we survived. What more could you take from us? Daniel chuckled, but it was bitter, a dark sound that chilled the room. You have no idea. He gestured to an old oak desk in the corner, its surface scratched and worn. I have things you lost. Knowledge you should have kept close. Documents that could shatter your lives. Her heart raced. What could he possibly have? She felt dizzy with a sickening mix of fear and anticipation. What do you mean? They say blood is thicker than water, but none of us chose this family. Each word dripped with despair. But the truth? It will surface when the timing is right. And right now, it's about to unravel. Just then, the wind picked up, ferociously rattling the window panes, as if the house itself wanted to bear witness to the truth. What do you know? Her brother pressed, unwilling to let this moment slip away. Daniel took a step closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Do you really want to know who your parents were? What they did to each other? Because everything you've built is based on a lie. Her heart hammered. The truth felt like an avalanche, and it would bury them both if they weren't careful. Don't say another word. She shouted, fear and anger crashing through her like a tidal wave. But Daniel simply smirked, relishing their vulnerability. But what if I told you, he grinned, that this house isn't just filled with shadows? It holds the echoes of your lives. Tension crackled in the air as a thunderstorm rumbled ominously outside, and she found herself teetering on the edge of a revelation she never wanted. What will you do if it's all true? Daniel's voice taunted now. As the lights flickered, each flicker a premonition of what could come, she steeled herself. Could they confront a past that felt insurmountable? Or would the truth destroy them all? The storm outside raged on, but inside, a different kind of storm was brewing, heralding an inevitable clash. What other secrets laid hidden within the mansion's walls, waiting for the right moment to rise? In that dimly lit room, the winds howled, shaking the very foundations of their reality. Each gust felt like a warning, a scream echoing through the air, urging them to choose their next words carefully. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a desperate bird seeking escape. Daniel's eyes gleamed, holding something darker than just his turbulent past. You think you've untangled the mess of your lives? You haven't even begun to scratch the surface. His voice loomed over them, heavy and suffocating. What do you have? Her brother demanded, anger transforming into desperation. Just show us what you're talking about, Daniel. But know this, he stepped forward, sending a signal of silent strength. We're not afraid of you. Oh, but you should be. Daniel raised a hand, and she watched as he retrieved a worn leather folder from the depths of the desk. The smell of aged paper mingled with the musty scent of the room, creating an atmosphere that threatened to choke her. She could hardly breathe. Everything you need to shatter your innocence, he said, taunting her with every word as he flipped the folder open. Her breath caught in her throat as swirling emotions coursed through her. Curiosity. Fear. A sickening knot in the pit of her stomach. What's in there? She whispered, an involuntary plea slipping from her lips. Daniel leaned back, a menacing smile creeping across his face. You wanted the truth. Here it is. Names, dates, secrets that bury deeper than you can imagine. The folder opened completely, revealing crumpled documents, faded photographs, and spiraling notes. Each piece felt like a ghost, rising to the occasion of torturous remembrance. Daniel, stop this. Her brother shouted, taking another solid step forward. This isn't your fight. Isn't it? Daniel's voice dripped with mockery. You both are so naive, so convinced you can rewrite your story. But the ink has already dried, and it's stained with blood. At that moment, a crack of thunder split the air, illuminating the room with a blinding flash, lighting up Daniel's twisted face, revealing layers of resentment, pain, a kind of madness she had hoped to never see in a once familiar figure. What happened to our parents? She found her voice trembling as she reached for the documents, but Daniel swiftly withdrew his hand, clutching the contents tightly. You can't just dangle these secrets in front of us. It's not that simple, nor is it safe. He narrowed his eyes, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of vulnerability beneath the rage. You may not want to know, but you will. The storm is here, and it won't calm until the truth is unleashed. Her brother's face paled. Panic crept in his voice. What do you mean until the truth is unleashed? It sounds like you want to destroy us. Only the lies need to die, Daniel said coolly. The truth will set you free or consume you whole. A sudden gust of wind crashed through the room, and the lights flickered back on fully, casting strange shadows against the walls. She glanced around, each corner of the room filled with memories, turmoil, and unrest. You want to hear the truth? She screamed against the storm's remnants, her chest tightening with dread. You tell us, you bring it into the light. Daniel's smile faded. You might not survive the light. And sleep? Sleep will elude you forever. The room fell into a heavy silence, broken only by their trembling breaths. A new realization crashed over her. Everything they had fought for was at stake, stretched thin like the fabric of their lives. Could they really confront the ghost of their past? And with that, she felt a chill race up her spine. What if these truths were more dangerous than any of them could bear? I can help, Daniel finally said, his voice heavy with a choice. But you have to trust me. Are you ready for what's next? The thunder rumbled again, and with it, a heavy sense of dread washed over her. Could they truly face the cascading events about to unfold? What hidden force beckoned them forward, and were they prepared for the answer that would rip their world apart? The air grew thick with tension, stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. The folder lay between them, a silent threat. Her heart pounded, pushing against all the logic that held her together. She locked eyes with Daniel. What do you want from us? She demanded, feeling a surge of defiance. You say you can help, but it feels like you're here to destroy us. Daniel leaned forward, his smile returning much more sinister this time. You're right, but not in the way you think. I want you both to face what happened to your parents, to confront the darkness head-on. But we have no idea what you're talking about. Her brother shouted, fists clenching at his sides. You're toying with us. Am I? Daniel countered, his voice dripping with disdain. Or are you simply afraid of your own truth? Another bounce of thunder rattled the walls, and she felt the electric pulse of danger coursing through the room. The shadows danced wildly, almost mocking her fear. She took a hesitant step back but caught herself, unwilling to show weakness in front of him. Let us say we agree, she said, her voice trembling but steely with resolve. What do you actually know? Daniel tilted his head, acknowledging the shift in her demeanor. You want the truth? You'll have to go down the rabbit hole. He picked up a photograph from the folder and, with trembling fingers, slid it toward her. This is from a night you've long hidden away. A night you forgot in order to survive. She hesitated, feeling a tremor of terror at what she might see. The photo showed two blurry figures, familiar faces obscured by the dark. But the colors felt wrong, twisted in an eerie way. Desire to push it away mixed with a morbid longing to confront it. Time seemed to lurch as she squinted. What is this? She asked, the words barely escaping her lips. Your past, Daniel replied, his voice low and gravelly. It's all entwined. You thought you could separate your lives with clean lines. But the truth draws blood. Her brother loomed closer, eyes wide. Stop hiding in riddles. Just tell us what you want us to know. For just a moment, she thought she witnessed a flicker of genuine pain in Daniel's expression. Then, just as quickly, it vanished. It's not what I want you to know. It's what you need to know. An oppressive silence enveloped them, tangled in the storm that raged outside. Things aren't what they seem, Daniel continued, his voice like shards of ice. Your parents weren't who you thought they were, and their deaths. Oh, the reasons are buried in layers more complex than you can imagine. Yet here you are, ready to dance with ghosts. Fear gripped her stomach like a vice. What do you mean? Daniel's lips curled. You may want to hold on to that innocence of yours. But, as the winds outside remind us, truth can be a relentless beast. It can howl and rage, or it can break and destroy. Her brother's breath quickened, but he stood tall. We're not afraid. Then you'll welcome what's coming. Daniel abruptly threaded his hands into the depths of his coat pocket, revealing something shiny, a key. This unlocks more than just doors, it unveils the core of your lineage. Only, can you handle the truth that's buried deep? Outside, the wind wailed, almost collaborating with his words. She gasped as the realization washed over her. Were they truly prepared to descend into that abyss? With every fiber of her being, she felt the urge to turn and run. But the key gleamed like a lighthouse in the fog. Could this really be the way forward? Will you follow me? Daniel asked, his eyes penetrating as he stood by the door. I promise you, once you cross the threshold, there's no turning back. They exchanged glances, weighing the weight of their choice. Could they step into the shadows of the truth? The thought sent shivers down her spine. Okay, she finally whispered. We'll do it, but if you betray us, you won't survive what's in there. With a knowing nod, Daniel turned, unlocking the door before them, inviting not just questions but the very storm of their lineage. But were they ready to confront the tempest lurking inside? As the door creaked open, dark tendrils of the unknown whispered their names, waiting to pull them into the depths. The door swung wide, revealing darkness that swallowed the light from the room. It was thicker than a fog, almost alive, swirling and curling as if weaving a tapestry of forgotten memories. The air whispered secrets, every breath felt like a dangerous gamble. As Daniel stepped inside, a flicker of light sparked from within the void, casting ghostly shadows along the walls. Her heart raced as she glanced at her brother. Doubt clouded his features, but his resolve lingered, a flickering candle in a storm. Don't lose your nerve, she whispered, her voice barely above the sound of the raging wind outside. Together, he replied, a fierce determination behind his words. They stepped through the threshold, and the door clicked shut with a finality that echoed in the stillness. The light grew brighter, revealing a narrow corridor lined with photographs, each frame a moment frozen in time, each image holding a piece of a puzzle they'd yet to understand. Staring at the faces caught in those frames, she felt a prick of pain somewhere in the back of her mind. A memory stirred, fragmented like glass scattered on the floor. Familiar, isn't it? Daniel said, voice curt and laced with mockery. What is this place? Her brother demanded, his voice ringing with authority. A museum of your past, Daniel replied, his eyes glinting like polished steel. With a sweeping gesture, he beckoned them forward. This is where the truth lies hidden, tangled amongst the horrors of the past. As they moved deeper into the corridor, the photos morphed, shifting from mundane family moments to darker themes: stormy nights, masked figures, shadows lurking in the background. Each image bore a weight that pressed against her chest, suffocating. Then she saw it, a photo that tore through the haze of her memory. It showed their parents on a night drenched in rain, soaked and entangled in some unspeakable secret. Her mother's eyes were wide and terrified, her father's hand gripping her tightly, as if holding on for dear life. What were you hiding? She whispered, stepping closer to the image. Daniel's shadow loomed over her, a predator sensing weakness. You tell me. Was it to protect you or to shield themselves? A chilling thought gripped her. You think we're alone in this? The danger isn't solitary. He nodded toward the corridor, where faint whispers drifted from the walls, a chorus of lost stories yearning to be told. Those who forget their history are doomed to repeat it. Her brother clenched his fists, frustration lacing his voice. "What do you want from us? You keep avoiding the truth. What is your truth?" Daniel shot back, his eyes narrowing. "Maybe it's time you faced the shadows lurking in your hearts." They pressed onward, the corridor growing darker, the air thickening with every step. A door appeared at the end, ancient and hypnotic, pulsing as if alive. "This is it," Daniel said, an unsettling thrill crackling in his voice. "Behind this door lies answers, weapons against your ignorance. But be warned, the revelations may shatter you." Her pulse thundered in her ears as they approached, an insatiable curiosity mixed with bone-deep fear. What awaited them beyond that door could unravel everything they thought they knew about themselves. Together, she reassured her brother, gripping his hand tightly. He nodded, the warmth of his touch pushing back the darkness. As they moved to open the door, a howl echoed through the corridor, something primal and furious that set their skin crawling. "Are you really ready?" Daniel asked, an enigmatic smile tugging at his lips. They met his gaze, a shared determination igniting the air. Before she could respond, the door swung open with a violent crash, light spilled forth, blinding and chaotic, enveloping everything in brilliance. But as they crossed the threshold, swirling darkness met them, twisting and morphed into familiar, taunting faces, a shadowy reflection of their parents, their secrets, and their sins. Emerging from the depths of the past with a sudden jolt, she realized the cost of their choices. What lay before them was not just a memory, but the raw truth of who they really were. And then she heard it, her mother's voice seeping through the chaos, warning them of what they must confront. "Do you dare to unlock what's buried?" The winds outside screamed, blending seamlessly with the echoes of the past. Was the truth worth the price they had to pay? The light surrounded them, pulsating with a life of its own. Only, instead of warmth and clarity, it cast an eerie glow that sharpened the shadows into jagged forms. They stepped into a room that felt less like a space and more like a trap, confined with relics of their past, their history encased in dust and dread. The faces in the darkness crowded around them, specters of their childhood, morphing like phantoms from another world. Her heart raced as she recognized a figure, her mother, eyes wide with terror, pleading silently for understanding. "Why can't we remember?" she murmured, her voice trembling as apprehension coiled tight in her chest. "I know what we did. What they did." Daniel's face twisted in pain and rage. "We left them behind. This is the price for that choice." The shadows began to shift, forming into vanishing glimpses of their parents' lost dreams. With each pulse of light, echoes of laughter turned to cries, swirling memories turning sinister. Voices paraded around them, disjointed and haunting, mingling with Daniel's haunting words. "Those memories were meant to protect you, to shield you from the reality of our family's failings," he spat, frustration spilling over. It was as if he were wrestling with his own ghosts. "What reality?" she shot back, their old sibling rivalry flaring, but now tinged with fear. "You think I'm naive enough to still believe in fairy tales?" She felt a chill wrap around her spine, a cold whisper promising that something unspeakable was waiting just beyond reach. Daniel stepped closer to the voices, the brightness dimming to a murky twilight, and she felt an unspeakable urge to pull him back, to shield him from whatever lay ahead. "You don't even know what's at stake," he exclaimed, eyes blazing. "We need to understand why they were afraid." She swallowed hard, feeling trapped between the remnants of what used to be and the fierce urgency to uncover the truth. The atmosphere thickened, intentions twisted like vines, as those shadowy faces gained form and substance. Their features became clearer, blurred whispers and tragic tales taken from the recesses of time. "What are you doing?" Daniel asked, his voice tinged with panic. "I'm trying to remember," she whispered, her fingers trembling as she gestured toward a distant image. It was a moment stilled in the haze, her mother, desperately packing a bag, eyes darting toward the door as if she expected someone or something to break through, and then, both siblings froze, hearts pounding as a chilling realization gripped them. They weren't merely witnesses or intruders. They were part of this theater of shadows. The truth had grown claws ready to rip open their lives. "Do you see?" Her brother's voice quivered, stark revelation washing over him. What if they knew? What if the price is our freedom? Their choices haunt us because we share their blood. Blood, she echoed, staring into those tormented eyes of their past. The echo of betrayal settled in every fiber of her being, weighted and heavy. The very thing that bound them was also the chain that held them captive. But beneath that crushing truth, an ember of defiance flickered. We can break the cycle, she said, unleashing a determination she didn't know she possessed. The walls around them trembled, shadows recoiling in the face of her defiance. We don't have to repeat their mistakes. As that hope ignited, the shadows shrieked, a cacophony piercing the air, and she was suddenly engulfed in swirling darkness, the once vibrant light corrupting under the weight of their shared sins. Overcome, Daniel urged, pulling her from the brink. We're not their reflections. We're their reckoning. Just as she grasped his words, the darkness around them convulsed, morphing into something that resembled a door heavy, foreboding, and ominously ajar. What now? She gasped, the swirling cries fading momentarily, replaced with a heavy, persistent silence that promised the unknown. Now we face what is waiting for us on the other side, Daniel replied, his broad shoulders squared with a resolve that lit a fire in her. Bones, before they could step closer, an ear-splitting howl erupted, piercing through their resolve like a knife. We have to hurry, she whispered, terror clawing at her throat. Whatever is waiting, let us go easily. They exchanged a determined glance, the shadows behind them swirling like tempestuous seas. Together? Daniel said, extending his hand. Together, she reaffirmed, and as they plunged into the yawning abyss, they prepared themselves for whatever truth awaited, knowing all too well the shadows could be their only allies or their fiercest enemies. What lay ahead was unknown, but their courage tethered them, stronger than the fear clawing for their souls. As they crossed the threshold, the unmistakable sound of laughter echoed light, hauntingly familiar, and utterly wrong. Would they conquer the darkness, or was the laughter merely a prelude of horrors yet to come? The moment they crossed into the darkness, time warped. Seconds stretched into eternity, as if the universe held its breath, waiting for the tempest to break. The laughter echoed again, a sweet melody twisted into something grotesque, mingling with the scent of decay that filled the air. What is that? She gasped, instinctively tightening her grip on Daniel's hand. The chill coursing through her veins told her instinctively that they shouldn't venture deeper. It's not real. Daniel's voice shook just slightly, but it carried a weight of determination. It's our memories the way we remember them. They're trying to lure us in. As the laughter faded, the darkness thickened, curling around them like smoke. Glimpses of light pulsed eerily ahead, drawing them into the heart of the gloom, a grotesque carnival of twisted images and muffled whispers. Stay close. He urged as they began to walk forward, their footsteps muted, swallowed by the heaviness of despair, but the visions came for them, bursting forth with relentless fervor. Faces appeared, blurred yet familiar, uncles and cousins, all circling in the shadows, their eyes wide with unspoken secrets. Watching. Judging. It felt like being on trial, the weight of their gaze a heavy reminder of the past. No, no. She breathed, her heart racing. We shouldn't be here. What do they want? Panic clawed at her throat. What if Daniel's voice fell to a whisper? What if they want us to confront what we were blind to? Suddenly, the ground quaked beneath them, the shadows swirling into a vortex. It was maddening, a cacophony of voices screaming, pleading, the overwhelming chaos drowned out by their own hearts thundering in their chests. She could feel Daniel's fear as if it were her own. What if they want us to remember? He pressed, but the weight of that idea turned her stomach. What if that's how we break free? Face them? She breathed, horrified. But we don't even know what we're facing. The shadows surged around her, tangible and alive. A figure emerged from the whirlpool, a silhouette splashed with darkness. It stepped forward, revealed as their father. The very thought sent shivers running up her spine that he looked different, eyes hollow, mouth twisted in a grimace as if he were screaming, yet no sound came. She could feel the sorrow washing over her, a deep and bitter tide that threatened to drown her. "Stop! You're not real!" she yelled, her voice cracking, but the shade didn't fade. Instead, it leaned closer, and she could see his lips moving. "Remember," he mouthed, his voice a whisper against the tempest. A shiver shot through her, hot and freezing all at once. Daniel stepped towards the apparition. "Why did you leave us?" he shouted, the power of his question hanging heavily in the air. "What happened? Why didn't you protect us?" The shadow's expression shifted, morphing into light and dark, a cruel blend of love and abandonment. "You must confront what lies within," it echoed, voice breaking like glass. Suddenly, the air changed. Like a storm brewing, an unseen force filled the room, escalating tension until they could feel it vibrating against their skin. She gripped Daniel's arm tighter, fear intertwining with a growing anger. Maybe this is our chance," she whispered, the ember of defiance igniting once more. "We have to face it. Together." But just as she spoke, the shadow recoiled, shattering into pieces that sliced through the darkness like knives. A deafening roar erupted, and the ground heaved under them. The laughter returned, now transformed into a maniacal cackle, echoing all around, wrapping them in despair. "Run!" Daniel urged, pulling her back toward the door they entered. But the door seemed to grow distant, fading like their memories. The laughter crescendoed, a cruel reminder of all that was lost. "Daniel! We need to go back!" she screamed, panic surging through her veins. "There's no going back!" he shouted, his eyes blazing. "We have to find the truth within." Just then, shadows burst forth, reaching for their throats like grasping hands, dragging them down. What truth? She gasped, struggling to break free. "What do we need to find?" As she felt the darkness close in, her eyes widening in fear, a thought broke through the chaos. Maybe they wouldn't just find the truth, maybe the truth would find them first. "Whatever it is," she screamed over the rising tide of shadows, "we're not afraid." The cackling grew louder, transforming into a symphony of despair, and just when everything seemed lost, the words erupted from Daniel, "We'll face it all. No matter what." And with that proclamation, the shadows shuddered, pulling away ever so slightly, but what would they discover in the heart of the storm? Would the truth set them free, or engulf them in darkness that was far beyond their control? The churning void beckoned, and as they pushed forward, they felt eyes watching from the depths. The truth waited eagerly, like a predator in the dark. The shadows recoiled for a moment, like timid animals sensing danger. But the reprieve was fleeting. An electric pulse surged through the darkness, igniting the air around them. She swayed on her feet, unsure if it was the tremor of the ground or the weight of the truth bearing down on her. "Daniel!" she called, panic bubbling at the edges of her voice. It felt like they were standing on the brink of something monumental, and she could almost see the churning mass of memories, unyielding and fierce, just beyond their grasp. "What if it doesn't set us free? What if it pulls us under?" He didn't answer, his gaze fixed on the swirling abyss as if seeking something hidden within the chaos. "We're not alone," he finally murmured, glancing back at her, the determination in his eyes tinged with vulnerability. "I can feel it. The past wants us to see." But just as she opened her mouth to voice her fears, the shadows shifted wildly, revealing a jumbled collage of scenes embroidered in the darkness: a little girl laughing in a sun-drenched garden, a family gathered around a birthday cake, a brief flash of a tear-streaked face under the flickering lights of a funeral. Each scene hit her like a punch to the gut, memories she thought she had buried long ago clawing their way back to the surface. "Those are us," she whispered, horrified as a shiver ran down her spine. The faces were so familiar, and yet so distant. "We've forgotten every moment we ignored, everything we attempted to bury," Daniel breathed, clutching her hand tighter. "That's what's been keeping us here, trapped in this nightmare." They want us to face it to remember. An all-consuming darkness roared, drowning out her thoughts and wrapping around them like a straitjacket. The laughter returned, furious and demanding, but now, it felt personal, as if the sound was mocking her reluctance to set foot into the memories that haunted her soul. "Are you ready?" Daniel's voice trembled slightly, but determination anchored it. As he moved forward, the shadows coalesced into sharper forms, enveloping them in a murky haze of confusion and regret. Each step felt like a defiance against their past, her heart racing as she tried to decipher the blurred images swirling around them. "Fear can't guide us," he urged, drawing her closer. "Only facing the truth can break this spell." With shaky resolve, she pressed forward beside him. The shadows thickened with every step, but with it came a flicker of adrenaline that propelled her deeper. They crossed the threshold between light and dark, caught in a chaotic tide that pulled them apart, twisting memories and reality until she couldn't tell one from the other. Daniel stumbled slightly, and she instinctively reached for him, the connection grounding them like an anchor in an ocean of despair. They were drawing closer to an unseen gate, the heart of the storm, and the weight of their collective breaths hung heavily in the air. Suddenly, a bright light erupted, slashing through the heavy veil of shadow, illuminating the grotesque images frozen in horror. She shielded her eyes for a moment, then looked up, catching sight of a figure emerging from the light, familiar yet shadowy. "Who is it?" she questioned, her voice barely a whisper as the figure solidified into something resembling hope, yet tinged with foreboding. The figure spoke, but the sound was muffled, lost in the chaotic sweep of darkness pooling around them like quicksand. "Face what you've become," it echoed, reverberating through her very core. Daniel stayed silent, his eyes widening with recognition, a flurry of emotions crossing his face. She felt her own heart race as dread laced the air anew. It was one thing to battle shadows, it was another to confront the raw, pulsing truth that lay beneath their facades. "I don't know if I can," she admitted, her voice trembling, uncertainty clawing at her resolve. "Together," Daniel reminded her, squeezing her hand fiercely. But just as they prepared to step closer, the shadows howled louder, and the ground beneath them started to crumble, dragging them towards the unending abyss below. The figure in the light flickered, its form dissolving into fragments of memories, combat ready for what lay ahead. "What if we lose ourselves?" she cried out, panic clawing at her throat. "That's the only way to find ourselves again," he replied resolutely, even as the darkness threatened to engulf them entirely, and as she let go of her fear, desperation surged through her. Maybe the truth wasn't just something to discover, it was a battle cry. They took a step forward together, but what awaited them on the other side of this reckoning, this confrontation with the past, loomed like a storm cloud ready to break. Would they emerge renewed from the wreckage of their history, or would the shadows claim them forever? The storm raged relentlessly, each second a fleeting moment away from the truth they desperately needed. "Stop them!" a voice rang out from the darkness. "Stop them before it's too late." But what could she do? The answer lay twisted in the heart of the chaos, and the storm was just beginning. The ground shuddered beneath them, a violent tremor, as if the earth itself was desperate to reclaim its lost memories. The shadows surged, and for an agonizing moment, she felt a chilling grip on her throat, a sensation that threatened to choke off her voice. But determination flared within her, igniting a spark against the suffocating darkness. "Daniel, hold on!" she shouted, but her words were swallowed by the cacophony around them. The ground fractured, gaping maws opening wide with greed, devouring everything in their path. Images flashed faster now, fragments of past lives twisted and distorted, laughter intertwined with screams, love entangled with betrayal. "Keep moving!" Daniel cried as a monstrous wave of shadows rolled toward them, a beast of despair intent on dragging them under. They ran, feet pounding, hearts racing, each step an act of rebellion against the inevitability of despair. The figure in the light flickered again, a tantalizing glimmer amid chaos. It seemed to shift closer, pulling them, urging them forward. "Face what you've hidden," it repeated, voice echoing like a haunting lullaby. But those words wrapped around her like chains, imbuing her with fear and resistance. "What do you mean?" She yelled back, straining against the distortion of her surroundings. What more could there possibly be? But the figure held its silence, radiating warmth and dread in equal measure. Her mind was a battleground of thoughts, she needed answers, grounding. Yet, all that answered was the relentless roar of chaos, urging her to remember. Her chest tightened. We can't turn back, Daniel. She felt the sensation of loss rip through her as memories flickered like dying flames, fractured moments of love, of grief, of joy suddenly drenched in sorrow. That he sought her gaze, his eyes fierce and steady. We've buried too much already. It's time to confront every dark corner of our past. Just then, a chilling wail erupted from the darkness, a cry of anguish so profound that she felt it weave through her soul. Echoes of familiar faces swarmed her mind. My family, she gasped, each name a dagger to her heart. They're gone. How could I forget? Because it hurt too much. Daniel shot back, urging her forward as a tidal wave of darkness shrieked, threatening to consume everything. Whatever fear had held her was fading, replaced with raw urgency. She needed to dive into the depth of this chaos. That in an instant, they stood in the eye of the storm where light met dark, and clarity kissed confusion. Shapes materialized dreams, anguishes, laughter, and faced them head-on. The laughter of her childhood morphed into a vicious snarl. Shadows danced like puppets on strings, twisting her memories, morphing them into something grotesque. Daniel! They won't let us pass. She screamed. A sudden flash of memory she couldn't ignore swam forward from the chaos, begging her to recognize its presence. Channel it. Remember the pain, embrace it. Daniel's voice wrestled through the chaos, filling her with newfound courage. Her fingers tingled as she closed her eyes, and vulnerability surged like a tidal wave against her chest. I'm ready, she cried, her voice hitting that powerful chord amidst the torment. Just as she took a bold step forward, the ground split beneath them, revealing a chasm of darkness. A wretched scream echoed, and from the shadows a hand reached out, desperate, pleading. Please, before it's too late. A voice rang out, fractured and familiar. The semblance of a face shadowed by the darkness flickered, uncertainty blooming in her heart. Is that? Her breath caught, each second stretching like a rubber band pulled to its limit. Go! Daniel shouted, pulling her back, but she was rooted in place, drawn inexorably toward the face pleading from the depths. It's a trap. But the pain in that face, the urgency of that plea, felt all too real. Everything within her rang with an emotional resonance she couldn't shake. I can't abandon them. She cried, her heart clenched in a grip of terror and hope. The darkness churned, growing more restless as if it fed on her indecision. She hesitated, caught between shadows and light, vulnerability and stubbornness. The voice grew louder, more insistent, almost coaxing. Face what you fear, find your truth. As desperation clawed at her mind, the boundary between past and present faltered. In that moment, the question hung in the air, laden with urgency. What truth lay waiting in the depths of her submerged memories, and could she resist the pull of the abyss long enough to uncover it? Time barely held its breath as she stood on the edge of everything she had ever feared. Would she succumb to the darkness, or could she wrest her truth from the shadows? The decision loomed over her like a thunderstorm ready to unleash its fury. With a sudden, piercing clarity, she felt the weight of the truth pressing down like a gravitational force. Caught in the eye of the storm, faced with the shadows of her past, the certainty of the moment washed over her like a cold wave. It was time to confront what lurked beneath. Daniel! She shouted, gripping his hand tighter. Whatever happens, we stick together. For a moment, he hesitated, his eyes searching hers for fear and comfort intertwined. Together, he echoed, a promise swathed in determination. Drawing a breath deep enough to calm the panic rising like bile, she stepped closer to the edge where shadows writhed, bypassing the echo of her own doubts. I choose to face this. I choose to remember. Her voice rang clear even as it vibrated with fear. The darkness thrashed, the mists swirling violently in retaliation. Memories tore free, colliding around them, each one a shard of glass that cut both ways. One vision, her mother's tear-stricken face flickered in front of her like a firefly, desperate yet encouraging; another, her father's angry shouts echoing down dimly lit corridors. They fought to pull her backward, to drown her in confusion, but she would not allow it. "That's not who I am," she shouted defiantly into the void. "I will not be defined by your fear." A gust of wind swept through, and for an instant, the shadows recoiled, revealing the shimmering outline of the shadowed figure before them, suddenly more tangible, a specter of her past, but also a harbinger of the truth yet to be revealed. "Face me," it commanded, voice resonating like thunder, rumbled through her chest. "What have you left unspoken? Do you dare process it?" Daniel stepped forward, his voice cutting through the cacophony. "What happened to our family? What did you do?" he demanded, eyes blazing, every syllable laced with bravery. "Tell us." The figure blurred, then solidified, the agony in its form radiating outward. "The choice you make now will echo through your lives. You can unearth the truth or flee back into ignorance, you cannot choose both unchanged." "Then let us face it," she declared, heart racing. "We were never meant to bury it. Guiding us to this moment is the only way we can be free." The shadows darkened, as if they too were weighing their options. For a fleeting moment, the raging storm quieted and gave way to an otherworldly calm. They stood on the precipice, breathless, tangled in possibilities awaiting resolution, and then, as if an unseen hand forced it, the shadows unraveled, presenting faded photographs suspended in the air, moments, faces, events hauntingly familiar. Layers of their family past unfurled before them, spilling secrets like a cracked vault. "Your parents, they had burdens," the figure spoke, voice low and eerie. "Secrets they kept, fears they could not share, and pain they thought they could shield you from." Each word sliced through the stillness, like a knife cutting paper. "No. They left us behind. They abandoned us," her brother shouted, anguish coloring his voice. But the figure only nodded, a shadow swaying with sympathy. "The past is complex, love and hurt intertwined, even in betrayal." Tears streamed down her cheeks as the memories bombarded her, images of warmth smothered by neglect, of laughter overshadowed by screams, all spiraled in a tempest of emotions. Every fragment came together, painting the portrait of her parents human, not just tragic figures. As she absorbed the revelations, a rush of empathy surged through her. "Do you see now?" the figure pressed, urging breathlessly. "The truth will bear weight, yes, but through it, you gain understanding. It will leave you raw, yes, but it can also grant you power." "Power?" She looked at Daniel, her voice trembling as she absorbed the possibility. "What if by knowing, we find a way to recover what we've lost? To not repeat the past?" Silence enveloped them, each heartbeat a quiet determination, a promise rekindled. "Together," Daniel whispered, fueled by her courage. "Together," she replied, as fierce resolve wove between them. At that moment, the shadows surged and twisted around them, as if unsure of the new dynamic. The spectre's voice rose above the noise, breaking through the chaos. "Then face the heart of your fears. Know who you are by facing what went before." As they braced themselves against the storm, they pushed ahead, eyes locked on the flickering light. The shadows raised a cacophony, swirling viciously against their very skins, trying to tear them apart, but she clung tighter to her brother, feeling the bond strengthen with every heartbeat. Towards the radiant hope, they surged, hearts pounding as the darkness bristled around them. The visions of their parents blurred into a landscape of mistakes and lessons learned, pain that could be transmuted into strength, and suddenly, there was the core of truth, suspended in light before them, a flickering flame they could grasp. Nothing could stop them now. "Whatever it takes," she screamed against the din, channeling the ferocity of their shared journey. "I will reclaim what is ours." With a final act of defiance, they extended their hands toward that brilliant beacon, reaching for the truth with every ounce of their being. As they touched the light, it exploded around them, illuminating every shadow, every corner of the darkness that once held them captive. Cries of anguish erupted, but deep within that sound lay the essence of liberation. With a blinding flash, the storm within them settled, merging darkness and light until they stood together two against the world, intertwined with the strands of their ancestors. The storm calmed, whispers of memories washed away, and the specter dissipated into a gentle glow. "I did it," she breathed, the weight of pain easing. "We found our truth." "Not just theirs," Daniel said softly, relief flowing through their connection. "Ours." In the quiet aftermath, they stood together amidst the remnants of darkness, hearts beating steadily as they gazed at each other. Through every storm they had faced, they had wrested their answers into the light. They were free, not perfect, not unscarred, but undeniably whole. And that would be enough. As dawn broke, hope fell like a soft rain, wrapping around them like a long-lost embrace. This moment was only the beginning, but together, they were ready. Now, the story lives in you. This is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let's talk, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support means everything.